All right, welcome to today's edition of Youth Assembly. My name is Sylvia Ishebe, and it's good to be back this new year. Happy 2021. Happy New Year to you. Well, today we look at bullying in boarding schools in Nigeria. Now, when you hear the name Don Davis, what comes to mind? Well, you might have seen the recent case and heard about what has happened to this young boy that was a JSS1 student in a private boarding school who was allegedly molested by senior students. But today, bullying by junior students, by senior students in Nigerian boarding schools has somewhat become normalized. For many students, it is considered as a part of boarding school experience, in spite of the harmful effects of bullying on the well-being of bullied students. I'm not here alone today. I am with Nurat Ladi, who is an educator. Welcome, Nurat.
Thank you for having me. It's Nurat Liadi. There's an I, Liadi, there's an I
Yes.
between the L and the A, Liadi. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Yes, good to have you. So we answered the question, how can bullying be eradicated from boarding schools in Nigeria? And as we look at bullying in private and boarding schools in Nigeria, we intend to look at these questions and so much more. But for you, Nurat, were you a boarding student when you were growing up in your schools?
Yes, I
Yes.
was. I was very fortunate to attend Queen's College, Yaba, Lagos. So I was in boarding school from 2000 and I finished school. I can't even remember now. I finished school 2003, sorry. So I was in boarding school from 1998 to 2003.
Oh,
Yes.
well. So how was the experience like? Uh,
The
would you,
experience was
if you had to turn back the hands of time, would you attend boarding school again?
Yes, I would. It was a largely positive experience. Queen's College is an only girls' school, so it was a great place to form bonds, to learn, to experience several things. So for me, it was largely positive. And it's really
Mm.
sad that a lot of people have really negative experiences these days. So I would go back to boarding school if I had that kind of boarding school, not the ones we seem to be hearing these days.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at what has happened to make them what they are today, most of them. But one of such people might be Don Davis. You've heard the story of Don Davis. How did you feel when you heard the account of the mother of Don Davis on how her son was allegedly molested by senior students in a private boarding school? And the videos keep circulating. She keeps making videos updating people of what the predicament or what the situation is with her son. How did you feel seeing all of
It
that
was
make the headlines?
It was absolutely heart-wrenching. No human being deserves to go through such a dehumanizing experience. It's horrible, it's appalling, and I condemn it in totality. No human should have to suffer that. It's sad that we've gotten to that stage in the world where other people have no empathy, no mercy for humans like that. Like you shouldn't even treat animals. Animals shouldn't even be treated in a despicable way, much less human beings. It's unacceptable and it's horrific. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. And my sympathy goes to the mother, and I hope she can heal from this. I hope the child can heal from this and they can move on with their lives as soon as possible.
How can someone that has gone through that with what we see happen to him physically actually heal from it? You know, it seems as if the situation is growing out of proportion, and people are beginning to wonder or beginning to tell their own experiences also going to boarding schools. You know, you said you had beautiful experiences and beautiful memories from boarding school, but some people, it is not the case. How big of a problem is bullying in boarding schools in Nigeria?
It's a big issue and it's a systemic issue. First of all, I'm a teacher and I tell people this all the time. The environment matters. Number one, a lot of our schools are overcrowded. That's a big deal. When I was in Queen's College, it was overcrowded then. So imagine a school where there are
Mm.
like 30 people in the dormitory and there's one matron overseeing two dormitories. Tell me how terrible things would happen. There's no supervision. And if you ask me, a lot of schools that have issues like this, they're the schools where there's less supervision. Where there's no supervision, things can go really badly. So the first thing would be we need to rehabilitate our schools. What are we doing in our schools? What kind of monitoring are we giving? What is the ratio of students to to the matron, also, what are we teaching our children? The truth, though, is everyone knows bullying is bad. No one can tell me they don't know. But evil thrives when nobody sees it. Evil thrives when there's no one to correct it. Evil is reinforced when there's no one to give penalties. That's the problem. It doesn't just start one day. They may have been doing it, but there's no one there to catch them. There's no one there to penalize them. There's no one there to suspend or expel them. So things like this are going to fester. So that's the first problem. Where is the supervision? Where are the people meant to be monitoring these people? Also, there are times where victims report to teachers, but teachers don't do anything about it. A lot of teachers are overworked. This is a real issue.
Okay.
So they don't even have time. A child can come to them and say, oh, there's this senior bugging me. Please, you can go. I don't have time. I'm busy. This is the reality. So people are left to their own devices and they don't even bother reporting anymore because there's no one to listen to them. So how are we empowering our teachers? How are we ensuring that they're delivering their work to the best of their ability? These are things we need to look at. It comes, it's from the bottom, it's from the top. We need to see what's happening.
Oh, okay. So, are you saying that the problem is from the school or from where these children are coming from, the homes they are coming from? What is actually the problem? Why has it become so rampant in boarding schools that bullying is something a lot of students will relate with today, or people who had come to school or boarding schools?
You know, it's both ways. Let's assume I bully children in my house. Let's assume I bully my neighbors. If I'm in a school that does not enable it, it will stop. You see, we say Nigerians are rude, right? We say Nigerians don't stand in queue. We say Nigerians drive recklessly. When these same Nigerians go to the United States, they behave. When they travel to the UK where there are laws, they stand in line. They behave themselves because there are rules. So I agree. Some kids have problems. They have internal problems. Maybe they come from really terrible homes. Maybe they're molested at home as well, and they project that when they get outside. But if the school as a system has its structure, they can nip it in the bud. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's both ways, but the school has their system. And Nigeria is a perfect example. A lot of us don't behave well in this country. But the moment we leave the shores, the moment we leave Muritala Mohammed Airport, we behave. Because there are people who will bring us to book there. People drive recklessly in this country, but when they get to the United States, they behave because they're going to get tickets. Their pictures will be taken. Their pictures will be sent to their homes, and they will get fined. They will pay for it. So if there is a system, things will get better. This is my opinion. Schools have to be strong. We have to have strong schools.
And when you look at the age of these children that have become bullies, you cannot help but wonder how much young minds could be capable of such evil. So how do you think people or students become bullies themselves? Yes, you mentioned maybe they are victims of bullying, but what other thing is responsible for this increase?
That's a wonderful question. It's very ironic, but most bullies are people that are insecure themselves. The fact that you want to bully someone is a function of your insecurity. People want to get power through bullying. It's because you have a low self-esteem. It's because you feel insecure. That's why you see the reason to want to dominate and bully. So like I said, low esteem, insecurity is it's one issue. Number two, peer pressure. People want to feel among. You see Nurat bullying a junior. You want to do it. And maybe she gets hailed. These are things that happen. Oh, Nurat is a big girl. Look at that senior. She's so big. She can do anything she wants. So people want to fit in. Peer pressure causes people to bully. Which takes me back to the point that if it's not nipped in the bud, if people bully others and they get away with it, you are enabling that behavior. You are reinforcing that behavior. And that's why we have to be strong as teachers. I know teaching is tiring. I've been teaching for over a decade. It can get overwhelming. You have academics to focus on. You have their physical well-being to focus on, you have their emotional well-being to focus on. So sometimes as teachers, we discount these things, we diminish these issues. It happens. There are people that report, oh, Rita is bullying me. Just go and deal with it. It happens.
Yes.
And it is things like these that cause it to get worse. You see what I'm
What do you
saying?
think at that point, with that example you cited, at that point, what do you think teachers can do to help students who have been bullied or have been bullied?
In the school, I've been very fortunate to work in some of the best schools in Nigeria. We have a counselor. So if you're feeling overwhelmed as a teacher, we direct you to a pastoral care officer. Every school should have a pastoral care officer, or what you call a guidance and counselor, because children are not in school only for their academic or physical needs. Emotional issues are real. So you should have because as a teacher, it's okay if you can't handle everything on your own. There should be a guidance counselor or an administrator that you can just say, you know what, I'm sorry about what you faced. I'm sorry this person is treating you like this. Would you like to speak to Mr. XYZ? I will tell Mr. XYZ you're going through this. He's going to talk you through it, and we can try to see how to get away from it. So we need that system. A structure is important. A school is not a place to joke with. You're dealing with lives. One of my bosses told me that as a teacher, you make or mar lives. We're dealing with lives. So it's very important that we take care of these things and don't diminish issues. That's the problem. He may have reported for all you know. It may not have been the first time those boys harassed him. It may have been ongoing, but maybe teacher isn't listening. Maybe sometimes she even told his parents and they didn't listen. So we need to listen to our kids. Anytime a child comes home to report that XYZ said I'm stupid, I listen to him, I validate it. And let's not say your problem is too much. Sometimes we do it because we're tired as parents. If your child comes to meet you, validate it. Oh, Kemi said you're stupid. That's a bad thing to say. Why did she say that to you? I'm really sorry that was said to you, but next time you need to stand up for yourself and tell her you're not stupid and report to your teacher if you can. So first, validate it.
Assembly, my name is Sylvia Ishebe.
So you need to validate your child. Don't just say your problem is too much. Your problem is too much, Jare. Just go. You're always complaining. Some of us do that. Are you the only one in class? Why are you always complaining? Don't dismiss your child like that. Validate your child's concern.
Interesting. But when it comes to parents, what do you think? Why do you think they miss it when their children become bullies? I mean, with the case of Don Davis, some people have said there is no way that the parents didn't know that the accused students were actually bullies or were capable of such. What can parents do to make sure they check their children at home before they take them to schools, boarding schools in particular?
Trust me, children have dual behavior. As a teacher, I can tell you that for free. It's possible. Some kids are the most quiet at home, and when they get to school, there's something else. And that's why I spoke about peer pressure. Peer pressure is real. Even as adults, we fall into peer pressure. As mothers, as old people, we do things because our friends are doing it. That's the reality. We're social beings, and when we socialize with others, we internalize ideas. So peer pressure is a big deal. So it's really possible that these kids are angels. They're like the kindest people, so sweet, so gentle, and when they get to school, there's something else.
Something else. Okay. And then when you find out that your child is a bully, as a parent, what should you do? Should you just let it be, or just correct with word of mouth and just let it be? What can you do to correct it before it gets out of hand?
Okay, remember I told you that a lot of bullies do it out of low self-esteem and
Okay.
out of insecurity. So that's something you want to check. Why does my child have low esteem? Is it because he or she is poor in academics? Is he or she not happy with his looks? Does this person have a problem with a sibling? Some children feel insecure because some of their siblings have made them insecure. They have siblings that tell them you're not good at anything. You look like a monkey.
Even
You're
parents
not
that tell their children they're not good at anything or have been bullies also to their children. We've seen that
Absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. So you want to get to the roots. I always say we can't just solve the symptoms. We have to get to the root. What is causing this bullying? And of course, we need to counsel this child. Ask this child, would you like to be bullied? Would you like to be molested? If you wouldn't like to do it, then why are you doing it to others? Would you like to tarnish your own image? Would you like to be seen as the bad person? So it's all counseling, to be honest. Like, you can't use force to change your bully. Because for,
Mm,
like you said, for a young child to think of that kind of atrocious thing, it's in the heart. So we need to get to the heart. Why are you behaving like this? Appeal to the senses of this child. If you are a believer in any faith, talk to them. I know there's no faith that condones bullying. It says, treat animals kindly. You should even treat plants kindly. You should treat animals kindly, much less a human being. So these are things that need to be told to that kind of child.
all right, if you just joined us, it's Youth Assembly today on Click Niger, and we are looking at bullying in boarding schools in Nigeria. What has caused the increase in the numbers, and what can we do? How can bullying be eradicated from boarding schools in Nigeria? We'd like to see your comments if you have suggestions on what the solution will be to make our boarding schools safe for our children. Well, we have a comment here by Mercy Okafor. She just said okay, but we thank you for the okay. Maybe she's saying okay to end bullying in boarding schools. But thank you for your comments. We'd like to hear your feedback. But you talked about structures, Ms. Nurat. You talked about structures, having the right structures in schools to prevent bullying from happening. Can you expatiate on that structure that you
Uh,
mentioned?
okay, for example, no teacher should be left alone with like 40 children.
Mm,
Ideally, there should be a form of assistance. So teachers should have assistants. That's the first. Number two, there should be documentation tracking behavior. I'm a huge advocate of this. If a child has any tendencies, note it down. You know
mm,
why? Because when you're telling their parents, a lot of parents get defensive. What? How can you say my child is this? My child is an angel. He can't do this. You pull out your book and say, on the 12th of January, 1982, your child said somebody was stupid.
yeah.
Your child pushed someone on the playground. Your child took off another
Mm,
child's headgear. So documentation is important, and this is standard practice. Documentation is absolutely important. The third thing is every school needs a counselor, a pastoral care officer, someone who is taking care of the mental health of kids. Teachers can't do everything. Teachers can only do so much. In Queen's College, Yaba, Lagos, shout out to all girls from Queen's College and our teachers and everything. We had counselors in school. We had counselors that would talk to us. We had religious leaders that would advise us. And these are things you talk about even in assembly. You should teach people the importance of kindness to
mm,
others, and tell them that being a bully is not cool. But I totally believe most bullies do it due to peer pressure because no one is catching them. No one is penalizing them for bullying. Evil thrives when good people do nothing.
mhm.
Nothing is being done. So they're going to do it again and again. That's why we need to have those structures in place. A lot of schools now have cameras. I know you can't have cameras in dormitories because children are
Yes.
going to undress and so on. But in public places, like in classrooms, I've worked in the tour. In classrooms, we had cameras. On the playground, we had cameras. In the hallway, we had cameras. So this helps to some extent. But I know in dormitories, it's not possible, right? So these are structures that could help.
The dormitories also have hallways, maybe in their change areas or their rooms where they sleep. There might not be cameras,
Absolutely,
but
but in hallways,
strategic places will work.
absolutely. But you see, again, this goes back to funding. How
Mm,
many public schools can afford that? Do you see my point? How
mhm.
many public schools can afford that? So again, it goes back to funding. That's it. I know even in developed countries, bullying happens. We've heard of cases in the UK of US where a child was killed. We know the very famous story of Damilola Taylor that
Mhm.
got killed in Peckham like maybe 18 years ago now. He got stabbed. But that story has a bit of closure because the perpetrators could be found. That's the goodness in technology. There were cameras, there were like pictures and all of that. So bullying happens all over the world. It's not just a Nigerian thing, but technology can help, awareness can help. And it
Hmm.
needs to be nipped in the bud as soon as possible.
Interesting. But when you look at some of the schools where bullying happened, like in the case of Don Davis, you mentioned having great counselors, religious leaders, talking to them and advising them against bullying. But when it happens under the nose of such religious leaders and they deny, or they are in denial, what can be done? What can be done?
Well, I honestly, I'm lost for words, and I don't want to be judgmental because I don't know the true story as well. I don't know the
Mhm.
true story, but we all, the truth is the truth, and what is bad is bad. No one should ever, evil should not be covered up. I think we all can agree about that, regardless of the faith. So I'm just going to say that we should search our conscience and we should follow our conscience. That's what I'm going to say.
Hmm. Okay. So when the story also broke, many people were saying that they would never enroll their children in boarding schools to avoid bullying. What's your perspective on this? With you who had a beautiful experience in boarding school, do you still hold that idea?
Well, I left boarding school 18 years ago, and the truth is, things have changed. To be very honest, I share the sentiment. Things have changed. I was telling my friend the other day, if I'm going to send my child to a boarding school, it has to be a school that is well funded, a school that has facilities, which might be expensive, which means I
Yes.
have to work harder, which means I need to work harder. But I don't see myself sending my child to like a regular public boarding school. To be very honest, I don't see that happening. Even though I went to a public school, Queen's College is a government school, it's a public school. I don't think I would. Who knows? Maybe things will get better. My child is still young, but I share their sentiments. You don't want to break your child. You don't want to traumatize your child. So I share the sentiments of those that don't want to send their kids to boarding school. They've got their
Okay.
reasons, and their reasons are very valid. You won't throw your child into the well,
Well, some
will you?
people will say some of the reasons that you hear for sending a little boy of 9 years to secondary school, to boarding school, is not it at all. What age would you think? Do you think parents would allow their children to live amongst older kids in
Yes,
terms of
I
boarding
was
school?
sent to I was sent to boarding school at 10 years old. I got into boarding school at 10 years old. So I would say it depends on the maturity of the child. Even age is nothing, to be honest. I mean, age is something,
It
but
is
it's not the
something.
most important thing. A 9-year-old might be more mature, might be more emotionally mature than a 12-year-old. So check with your child. How does your child behave with others? Is your child confident enough to report issues? Can your child stand up for themselves? Okay.
Hmm.
And you can try things. There are people that have put their kids in boarding school in 1 year and they pulled them out. So it's okay to do a bit of trial and error, but listen to your child.
Hmm.
Listen. Don't dismiss your child. Because a lot of times these kids want to tell us things, but if we're not listening to them, they won't. So it's okay to do a trial and error. It's fine. You can start off. If it's not working, pull them out.
Somebody will say,
Nothing is
"No, I'm
set
not
in
trying. I'm
stone.
not doing trial and error with my child." But when these children come home and they report to their parents, you see, maybe because of the busy schedule of the parents, they is okay. Just manage. Okay, don't do this. Maybe we should just change. What can they do? What steps should they take to make sure they get to the root of the matter when the child come home and tell them about being bullied in school?
Absolutely. They should check with your parents, with their teachers and school heads. And don't wait till open day. I always tell people, don't wait till half term
Hmm.
before you find out what's wrong with your child. Set up a meeting. Hello, Mrs. XYZ. My child told me this and that. I'd like to find out. I'd like you to investigate. Be proactive. You can't be reactive as a parent. You need to be proactive. Yeah.
Hmm.
So as soon as you
Interesting.
hear it, and don't wait for the big problems. Don't wait for things to fester. Even if it's
Mhm.
just a push, try to engage with the teachers and see what's going on.
Okay, but when you look at some of those boarding schools, you see their visitation period in a term could be once.
Yes, true.
a month. How do you think that also contributes to bullying taking place without getting noticed by families?
Well, that's it. When I was in school, there were no mobiles yet, so I don't remember ever calling. The only time I would get in touch with my parents was if I wasn't feeling well. So if you're not feeling well and the illness gets really worse, you can send a message and they'll get in touch with your parents. So again, it goes back. If our teachers are listening to us, if there's a counselor and there's a huge problem, they should be able to get in touch with your parents. But I also understand that as a school, they don't want to call your parents every time because they don't want to seem like they're not responsible enough. A lot of schools want to show that I can handle this, we got this, we've got you covered. So they try to, get it done within the school. But if it's something that has escalated, you should be able to send a message to your parents to help to work things out.
Mm. Okay, so I still wonder. A term that is 3 months, and then you get to see your child just once, and
No, there's a
maybe
half
just one
term.
day, just a
There's
few
a
hours.
midterm holiday. You go home. You go home during the half term holiday. There's usually a midterm, and you can go home for like 2 days. There's a visiting day and so on.
Or even a week, right? Okay. All right. So before we go, bullying in schools is a vicious cycle. Most of the time, many of the bullied juniors students cannot wait to met out the same punishment or the same thing that was meted out to the treatment that was meted to them back to other students also who come into school. How do you think the cycle can be stopped?
That's an absolutely good question. People say, "Oh well, when I was a junior, my senior would ask me to carry 5 buckets on the head, and I didn't die. So I'm going to pass that. I'm going to pass down that abuse." It's true, it happens, but that's the thing. If we had structures in the first place, if
Okay.
we had people checking this behavior in the first place, it won't
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
If you were slapping people in Nigeria, or people were slapping you in Nigeria, you won't go to the UK and say, yeah, because I get slapped in Nigeria, I'm going to slap people in the UK. You won't do that because they won't let that happen. So it's because we don't have a structure. That's just it. You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? So there
Mhm.
has to be a structure. If there
There
was
has to be.
someone stopping them from doing this, then they won't even have the chance to do it to other people. That's why we need to have strong schools. We need to have funded schools. We need to have funded schools, well-funded schools
Mm.
that are well supervised, that have facilities. Bullying will still occur, but not at the degree we're seeing it. There'll
Mhm.
always be evil in the world. It's the reality. There'll always be evil in the world. The best countries, there's still evil there. The countries with the most efficient police force still have crimes being committed. But what's the degree? That's what we're trying to minimize it as much as possible. We'll never be able to eradicate it 100%. But if there's only 2% of bullying or 3%, that's a huge success. So we're looking to minimize it as much as possible. That's the point. Even siblings
Yeah.
bully each other. We've heard of issues of
Yes.
siblings
It
beating each other.
happens.
Are you going to say you're not going to have several children because of that? It's not going to happen. But you
Okay,
need
now
to
that
put.
you mentioned, what would you say to parents who have children who have been bullied, and also what would you say to parents who have children who are bullies?
Okay, so let me start with children and parents who have children who have been bullied. Number one, empathize with them, validate it. Don't just say you are too soft. Don't just say what's even the big deal. It was just a slap. Don't say that. If you say it was just a slap, you're diminishing it. So
Mm-hmm.
validate it and let your child see you're seeking justice. You know
Interesting.
why? If your
Mm-hmm.
child sees you're not doing anything about it, they're not going to tell you.
Mm.
And that's one thing I appreciate about my spouse. In fact, my child always reports to my husband more than he does to me. Because my husband will get to the root of the matter. He's going to get, if he says someone called me stupid, he's going to say, how come he called you stupid? That's wrong. I'm going to talk to your teacher. He's going to follow it up. So when your child reports to you, don't just say, okay, he called you stupid, sorry, and move on. Let
Yeah.
them see you're pursuing justice.
Justice.
Let
Beautiful.
them see you're doing something about it. Because if they don't see it, then what's the point? Daddy didn't do anything. I might as well just keep quiet. Let them see you're doing something about it. And for those that are bullies,
Mm-hmm.
we need to empathize with them as well. Because really, God has put mercy in our hearts. That's my belief. Humans were born with mercy. Only animals are merciless. As a bully, you have taken upon an animalistic characteristic, and that's something to be worried about. It is lions and tigers that devour others. So if as a human being, you're being cruel to another human, you're being evil, you're being vile, that's a problem. You should even empathize with that. How did you get to this position?
Yeah.
And sometimes, especially when they're young, evil won't take away evil. So let's talk to them. Why is this happening? Give them penalties if possible. If you have to take away maybe some of their privileges, that's fine. But let's get
Mm-hmm.
to the root of it. Why would you slap somebody? Why would you molest somebody? What led you to that? God forbid, if I ever find out my child or a relative does that, I'm going to break down in tears. Like, how did my relative become like this? How did their humanity go away? What happened? Where did they get things wrong? So I would say they need therapy, they need a counselor. And lastly,
Yeah.
there's actually something called ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. It's a psychological phenomenon, and there's some children who always get into trouble. It's ODD, it's a psychological phenomenon. Some children may have ODD, which means they thrive on misbehaving. Like somehow their brain inspires them to misbehave. So these are real issues. They might want to look that up. Get a psychiatrist, get a psychologist. Your child might be suffering from ODD. I've
Mm.
worked with a child with something similar. Like this child was always in trouble. This
Mm-hmm.
child was the one insulting others, even insulting teachers too. This child
Oh.
had no limit. Yeah, sometimes, and it made us research the phenomenon ODD,
Okay.
oppositional defiant disorder. So they might want to check that out. Maybe this
Okay.
child has something not going well up there. You never know.
Mm. And these children are born with it.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It's a disorder. Yeah, just the way like some kids have autism, some kids have
Okay.
Asperger's syndrome. Yeah, ODD, it's a disorder. Yeah, they're born with
Yeah.
it.
Mm. Thank you for sharing with us. I bet you a lot of people will want to look into that and see what it really means and how it can. I hope it doesn't relate to your child. But yes, we looked at bullying in boarding schools in Nigeria. With the recent case of Don Davis making headlines, we wanted to do this and help parents and even students who are being bullied or are bullies themselves. Thank you for joining us today on Youth Assembly. We'll make a return on Monday for another interesting edition.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much,
much for
Nurat.
thank
Thank you,
you so
Nurat,
much
for
for
having
having
me.
me. It was a delight being here. Thank
Yes, and thank
you.
you for all the
Goodbye.
information you gave us. As an educator, you did so well.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a fantastic day. And to you watching, have a fantastic day. And please share this video. And remember to comment and tell us how we can find a solution, a lasting solution to bullying in boarding schools. We'd love to hear your comments. See you tomorrow. Well, this show was put together by Iyoma UKJ. Bye for now and have a
Bye.
fantastic day.
Thank you. Goodbye.